I could have left it just with a nice statement. Managing risk is more important than finding deals. And nobody would have cared. Nobody would have commented. Nobody would have thought about it. Nobody would have even understood what I was talking about. But then, when I added the parentheses and I said, deals are easy, I rocked some boats. Hey, what's up everybody? Rob Swanson here, and we're back. And we have a new format and a new way we're gonna tackle the Real Estate Mogul Show. And I'm pretty excited about it because here's what I've learned. I've learned that when I engage with an audience of people, whether that's brand new real estate investors or experienced pros, the conversation that we can have helps everybody. And I'm going to be honest with you, I probably get the most out of those interactions than anybody. And so here's what we're going to do. I wanted to create a new format that gave me a platform to regularly sit down in this seat and have a conversation with you. What I wanted to do is give you a spot that you were kind of excited to come back to and have this conversation with me, tips, strategies, ways to think about real estate investing, questions, answers, deeper thoughts that really draw from 25 years of me being in the trenches investing in real estate. And we're going to cover the topics that run the gamut, from wholesaling to buy and hold to fix and flip to new construction to you fill in the blank. We're going to cover it. Creative deals, note investing. You ask the question, I'll bring the answer. That's the way this format is going to go. And so I'm going to pull in all of these questions from all of the different places that I interact with people on a regular basis. And the goal is to bring the things forward that are the most exciting in my mind and the most relevant in your mind on a regular and consistent basis. So this episode is kind of our kickoff show. It's just the place that we're going to get started. And what I wanted to do is kind of lay the roadmap for the Q&A, for the discussion, for the style. And I would imagine that I will change things over time. We'll update the format. We'll insert new segments. We'll try different things because this is really going to be my playground to talk about the things that I see happening in the real estate investing and money financial worlds on a weekly and regular basis. And my goal and my hope is to make it interesting enough that you want to come in and join the conversation, ask a question. And, who knows? We might even bring some of you on the show for some feedback and some live discussion. And this is just me thinking off the cuff. What is this going to look like? Because I don't really know. Here's what I can tell you. I have done many different formats of podcasts and shows along the way. And some of them have been very structured on here's what we're going to talk about and here's the framework and here's the 3 points we want to make, and others have been a little bit more wandering in their topical conversation. The goal here is to take those things that people ask me on a regular basis and the questions I get asked and the things that I share that after a conversation they usually say to me, I should have recorded that. That's what this show is going to be about. I'm going to try to take those conversations and those questions and just give a real world response. Just talk to you like we're sitting down, having a cup of coffee and talking about something that's interesting to both of us. So those areas are generally, and here's what people typically ask me. They ask me about lead generation for real estate investing. How do I find more deals? They typically will ask me about virtual investing. How do I pick a market to invest in? How do I know if it's a good market? If I don't know a market, how do I find the deals and what types of deals to do in a particular market. People ask me about investing strategy and my thesis for investing. How do I navigate the macroeconomic and the microeconomic markets, the changes, the changing of the winds that happens on a regular basis? Those are the things that I get asked the most. Now, that's not a full suite of the things that we're going to be talking about, but we're going to spend some time focusing in on those areas. And another big piece that people ask me about is the technology. Obviously, people see me as a experienced real estate investor and a technology guy, somebody that owns a software company. And I get asked all the time, what about this software? What about that software? How should I set up my software? Should I use software for this or for that? So we'll talk technology. I'm always thinking about the cutting edge. What's the next thing in the world of real estate investing that makes our jobs easier, our lives easier, that buys our time back, that gives us deals on our dashboard every day when we wake up? Those are the things that I think about. And so I try to take my years of real estate investing experience and push them through this funnel of technology and say, how do I take the things that I have done over the years and the skill and the knowledge and the experiences that I've had, and how do I automate them with technology in some way to give you a shortcut? Or if you're already an experienced pro with a team, to give your team the shortcut. Those are the things that I try to do with software. So if we talk about those big buckets, lead generation, virtual investing, investment strategy, and technology for real estate investors, we've got a whole bunch of content to cover. We've got a whole bunch of things to talk about. And what I want to do is dive right in, because we're going to start this show off just getting into it and just having a cup of coffee conversation. I had my coffee today, and my cup of coffee this morning was an Ethiopian that I did as a pour over, and it was fantastic. Nice, light, fruity, really great cup of coffee. And you know what the best part? My wife made it for me, and she doesn't normally like to make my coffee because she doesn't like to stand there and do it for the 3 to 4 minutes that it takes. But you know what? She did it for me anyway, and I love her for it. So we're going to dive in, and what I'm going to do is jump straight to a question that came off of Facebook. And I had recently made a post, and the post was, let me pull this up so that I can actually tell you exactly what the post was. It said, managing risk is more important to investing than finding deals. Now, below that, I put in parentheses, deals are easy. If you know me, you know that I am always up for a great challenge. And I could have left it just with a nice, sublime statement. Managing risk is more important than finding deals. And nobody would have cared. Nobody would have commented. Nobody would have thought about it. Nobody would have even understood what I was talking about. But then, when I added the parentheses and I said, deals are easy, I rocked some boats. And what happened is people disagreed. Had some people that agreed. Most people disagreed. Here's what I'll tell you. In 25 years of real estate investing, in over 15 years, almost 20 years now of coaching real estate investors, of consulting people, of building funds and taking large amounts of capital where the money guys are saying, hey, what are we going to do? How are we going to make a return on our investment dollars? What I've always come to find out is that there are three things that people believe are holding them back. Number one is they believe they don't have enough leads. Number two, they believe they don't have enough money. And number three, they believe they don't have enough time. Deals are easy speaks specifically and directly to the idea that people believe they don't have enough leads. And so I put that in there to sort of rock the boat a little bit. I honestly wanted to see people come in and argue with me about my comment. Now, let's back this up for a moment and let's talk about the comment. The comment says managing risk is more important to investing than finding deals. What does that mean? Most people think that managing risk comes at the end when a deal starts to go south. Most people think that managing risk is over here on the back end when a flip isn't going well, when construction is overrunning, when the timelines are falling apart, when a tenant trashes the place and moves out in the middle of the night in January, right? Most people believe that managing risk comes at the end of the deal. The reality is managing risk comes at the beginning. And managing risk is all about building what we call in the real estate investing world the buy box. Now, I'll tell you this. If I hear one more person say the word buy box and just use it as a term that makes them try to sound smart, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to smack somebody. Here's the thing. Managing risk is all about your strategy up front. It asks the question, what outcome do I want and how am I going to get it? And the answer to the question, how am I going to get it, helps you define all of the steps along the way that actually produces the result. So while most people are thinking about risk on the back end, how do I fix a problem? In investing, managing risk is what you do at the very beginning to define the outcome that you want. That's the key component here. Managing risk defines your final outcome, and it does it in a way that allows you to build the steps to actually achieve the result. There's a lot of people that say they want something, and yet when it comes time to putting the steps in place, they make a step forward, then a step back, then a step forward, then a step back, then a step sideways, then a step up, then a step down, because they haven't really defined the process to get to the result at the very beginning. So managing risk is really about building an outcome. Now, as value investors, which we are as real estate investors, we look for the discount, and we look for the discount in either price or terms. So price or terms, we can build great deals. You can create great deals when you understand how to structure great deals. The structure of great deals then comes by understanding that the whole process is about managing risk. So let's talk about it for a minute. How do we manage risk? Well, if I know that I want to make money as a real estate investor, and let me dive into one of the commentaries here that said, one of the comments said, deals are not easy to find in my market and most high-end markets. Well, I didn't say deals are easy to find in any particular type of market. What I said was that deals are easy. And so if in your mind you pigeonhole yourself into a particular geography, a particular property type, a particular deal structure, a particular something, if you put constraints on what defines a deal, then you will find difficulty in accomplishing the goal. Let's say the goal is to make money. Let's say the goal is to close more deals. When you close more deals, you make more money. If that is the goal, do you care where you close deals, what type of deals they are, what property that consists of, the strategy? Do you care if the goal is to make more money and close more deals? And the answer to a true investor is not really. You don't and shouldn't care. The objective is to take your skill, your knowledge, and your experience and apply all of those things in areas and in ways on deals that produce the result, and produce the result as quickly as possible, as consistently as possible, and as profitably as possible. Those are the things you're looking for. So the comment here was deals real deals are not easy to find. And I would argue that if, in fact, real deals are the thing we're looking for, then you have to decide, what outcome am I wanting? Am I looking for cash? Am I looking for cash flow? And you have to adjust your buy box, your approach, your geography to go find that deal. That is the sign of a real estate investor. If you understand that you, in fact, are looking for an outcome, a profit, a cash flow, a certain amount of cash, a certain number of deals done, and it's your gig, it's your thing that you're going after, then a real investor says, how do I take off the gloves? How do I take off the constraints? How do I take off the roadblocks and push through to get the outcome? And in this particular question, it was the constraint was my market. The constraint was a high-end market. Well, if the goal is to make money and this high-end market is not helping you produce that goal, but you are a real investor, you need to start asking yourself, where can I produce that goal? Which is exactly what this particular person did. They went from the public Facebook commentary into a private message directly with me and started asking some questions. So let's dive into that for a little bit, because I answered those questions and I want to share them here with you. So I'm going to scroll up here and let's see. Here was the question. Number one, the person just hit me and affectionately said, Robbie, with a question mark. I responded, I go by the name Robbie, I guess, in Facebook direct messages. So I responded with a hit me, because I got answers. We'll talk about this. And I knew it was the person that had commented that said deals are not easy. And so I thought, well, let's take this a little bit deeper and see if I could provide some value, if I could learn something from him. And this was the question. He said, are you saying that if you were in a market like mine, where deals were very tough to find, 6 to 8 a year with a ton of marketing and networking, but each deal was normally a 6-figure profit, you would go do deals in another market where deals were easier to come by, even if each deal was a fraction of the profit? Okay. I'm not taking the bait, right? What I'm not going to do is say, yes, I would go work 8 times harder for half the money. I wouldn't do that, because the question here already gave me the information I needed to know. He already said, if you were in a market like mine where deals are very tough to find, but then he defined what very tough to find means to him. 6 to 8 deals a year with a ton of marketing and networking. So we already know that he can do 6 to 8 deals a year And each of those deals makes him net 100 grand. So he has a $600,000 to $800,000 a year net profit to him just doing what he's already doing, what he knows already works. Managing risk is more important to investing than finding deals. He already knows how to find the deals. He told me how to do it. Managing risk and making sure with that few deals, only 6 to 8, you can't screw them up. Don't screw the deals up. Make sure they're profitable. Make sure they're good deals. Make sure these 6 to 8 perform. Don't screw them up. Because if you screw one or two of those deals up, it's not that you're just losing the $100,000 profit. It's likely that you're taking a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 hit the other direction. So a couple of bad deals could wipe out all of the profit from the remaining great deals. That's the key. Managing risk is more important to investing than finding deals. Deals are easy. Now, our conversation continued, and this is my reply. I said, it sounds like deals are easy. Spend money and do some networking and do 6 to 8 deals a year and net 6 to 800K. Managing risk then is likely more important than finding deals. Since you already know you can find deals, make sure those 6 to 8 are good. That was my reply. His response. This is what I'm doing already. Wondering if it makes sense to go into other markets, as it can be 2 or 3 months between deals sometimes. Then get 2 in 1 month kind of a thing. Not much downtime, not enough consistency. Are you a believer in flipping in multiple markets? Well, we'll talk about that, and I am. I've invested all over the country. I've invested in 20 some different states, 30 some different cities, my own deals, my own money, not through student deals. And I've helped students all across the country do this as well. I'm very, very clear about how to go into a market, identify what I call those honey holes, where the money is being made, and then figure out what the local investors are doing in that market to make the money. See, that's the key. And I'm going to get to my answer to him in a second, but the key is this, and I want this to land for you. If you go into a market outside of your local geography, the area that you live and understand, you have to have a framework and an approach to figure out how are investors making money in this other market. Because what I don't want you to do is be the pioneer. I don't want you to go into another market and just start throwing things against the wall, seeing what sticks, and make mistakes. And there's a roadmap, a blueprint in every market that you can follow by looking at where the money is being made, asking where are they making the money, how are they making the money, and who is making the money. If you can answer those 3 questions going into another market, it can start to inform your strategy of how to profit in those particular markets. So how did I answer this question? I said, well, the point of my post wasn't to redefine someone's investing approach. So I wasn't trying to suggest that, hey, high-end markets are hard. You need to go into a low-end market. I wasn't trying to suggest that. The point of my post was to highlight the importance of understanding risk. Now, I followed it by saying, but I personally wouldn't do real estate the way you're doing real estate because it feels like a hamster wheel. And what I mean by that is if you're doing 6 to 8 deals a year and you're investing significant capital, significant time with a very few deals, you better manage your risk right. You better get it right or you're going to lose big. And then you better find that next deal, and then you better find that next deal, and you better hope that May 2008 doesn't show up in your market when you're in the middle of the 3 of the 6 deals you're doing and everything crashes. So to me, that feels like an unmanaged risk approach to investing in real estate. And so I like to diversify geography. I like to diversify investment strategy. And I like to have smaller wins that are more consistent. Now, that doesn't mean I want to work 10 times harder for half the money. In fact, I want to work less. I want to close more deals consistently, and I want to make more money because I know that the money is repeatable. So, what did I continue then talking about? I said, I'd much rather and do invest in cash flow markets and buy cash flow assets. I also structure deals to get paid up front, so it's not just the small cash flow, but it's also cash generation. The structure of the deal, i.e., managing the risk, is more important than the deal. So if you understand how to manage risk and structure deals accordingly, you can win and win and win and win. And so the point of my response wasn't to beat the gentleman up. It wasn't to say he's doing something wrong. I mean, he's doing 6 to 8 deals a year, making $100,000 a pop. Nothing wrong with that at all. But I knew that my post was going to challenge some thought and challenge some people to say, I either don't understand that or I disagree with it because I don't understand it. Because the same people that came in and said, I disagree, others came in and said 100%. And the people that came in and agreed with me were the guys that have been in this business longer than me. They have more gray hair than I have. They have more experience. They've done more deals. And I can go back to a point in my real estate investing journey where it was the crash of 2008. It was the Great Recession, right? And I was like, there seems like a big opportunity here. I've got to take advantage of this somehow. What am I going to do? And I sat down with some of the old school guys here in the Denver area. I had this strategy. I was putting a fund together, my first big fund. We had construction crews lined up. We were ready to rock and roll. And the old school guys here in town, I'm talking about the old school hard money guys, got money, been around this game since the 70s, chain smoking, telling me exactly what's up. They said, here's what you do. You take all the money you can get. You buy the houses cheap when they crash. You disconnect the utilities, you board them up, and you wait for the market. And I said, yeah, but this time it feels different. I don't know if I can do that. And every one of them looked at me and said, what do you know about feeling different? I was probably 33 years old at the time, maybe 30, 35, somewhere in there. I had experience. I was closing a lot of deals. I knew what I was doing. I was raising tens of millions of dollars in private money and big capital funds. I knew what I was doing, and yet, in my wisdom, I missed the forest through the trees. And today I call it my $30 million mistake. Well, I called it my $30 million mistake before Bidenomics, and inflation has made it my $50 million mistake today. So let's call it my $50 million mistake. Had I listened to those guys and just bought everything I could get my hands on and waited, I would have done less work. I would have made more money, and I would have done it by just listening to the wisdom that came before me and the experience that came before me, because they did it in the early 70s. They did it in the early 90s. And they were old enough in 2008 to not care. They didn't have to do it again. And they gave me the advice, hey, do this. That's what this show, I hope, becomes. I hope we can start talking about the things that if you're on the earlier side of your journey, you can learn and hear something here that says that's the direction I need to go. That's how I need to do it. If you're further along in your journey, maybe I could say something and you say, hey, that's pretty smart. I could modify something in my business and take advantage of that thought process. That's the goal for this show, is to take questions, take commentary, take challenges, take dialogue, break them apart and say, what can we learn from this bit of information? What can we do different? What can we do better? How can we grow? So let's jump from that question into another one that is very similarly veined. And in fact, our dialogue continued a little bit deeper, and this is one of the questions that he asked, but I was also asked this question in another direct message on Facebook. And the question was, how do you evaluate a market to determine whether it's good for investing? Wholesaling, flipping, or rentals, okay? Well, to dive into the answer to that question, let's just set a ground rule. And let's just break markets into two types. And let's just simply talk about boom and bust markets. And let's simply talk about cash flow markets. Now, these are defined as markets that, if I look historically, have either appreciated rapidly and then crashed, or have appreciated slowly and slightly dipped over time historically. So your boom and bust market is generally your higher priced market. When we think about the market, the macroeconomic cycle, the real estate market cycle that everybody talks about, the boom and bust market in the boom are your highest price markets in the country. They also suffer the greatest in the bust. When things go down, they drop by 30, 40, 50% or more. Okay? Those are your boom bust markets. In the top of the market cycle, they're your most expensive markets. And they take the biggest hits. Your cash flow markets historically go up and go down and go up and go down, but they don't crash. They rise over time and they dip. The dip is less significant in a cash flow market, even just as the fact that it is a smaller percentage-wise dip. It's also less impactful on the cash flow numbers. And that is because in a cash flow market, your price to rent ratios are much more advantageous to the purchase. It means your rents are significantly higher as compared to the price of the real estate. They're closer together. Whereas in a boom bust market, as you boom, that market goes up and your rents don't keep up with it. Incomes don't keep up with it. Rents don't keep up with it. And so what happens is renters struggle and suffer in a boom bust market. And because of the way they manipulate the economy, they ratchet down interest rates, homeowners can still get in. So renters tend to suffer. Homeowners can still get in because you can afford more house as they ratchet down interest rates. Now, what has happened over the last 18 months, 24 months? They stopped the ratcheting down of interest rates. They put it on pause, and interest rates actually came up a little bit. That affects everybody. Not so much in a price stable market or a cash flow market, but it impacts in a boom bust market. So, first thing, we understand there are two types of markets, boom and bust and price stable or cash flow markets. Then we want to ask, what makes a good market to invest in? It depends on your strategy. What are you looking to do? Are you looking to wholesale? If you're looking to wholesale, you're looking for a nice blend of distressed inventory that you can see, so observable distress, along with buyer activity, so investor buyer activity, not just retail buyer activity, investors buying. If you want to wholesale, you want to see a nice blend of those two things, a nice ratio. If you want to buy and hold, you're still looking for that buy-sell activity because you don't want to be the pioneer. You want to go into a market that sets you up for success. And how do you know how to determine success? Look at what other investors are doing ahead of you. Don't recreate the wheel. Follow along. Follow the money. Do what other investors are already doing to make money and be successful. And so if you're buying and holding, you're going to look for a price stable market. So I like to look historically and ask, how much has the market gone up and how much has the market gone down? Is it relatively stable? And I like to then look at the price to rent ratio and say, if I were to pay cash for this house and get all of my rent, how many years would it take me to pay off my investment? How many years would it take me to pay off the investment on a cash flowing house after I pay my taxes, insurance, maintenance, management, and vacancy? So on $1,000 rent, I get $700 in my pocket, 30% operating cost, $700 in my pocket. Can I buy in such a way at a price that I could pay a non-leveraged house off in 5 years, 7 years, 3 years? I look for markets where I can pay back my cash investment from net cash flows as quickly as possible. Now, we're not even talking about the leveraging side of real estate. We're not talking about the debt side of real estate. We're talking about market selection. Okay? I like to be in a market, in a cash flow, price stable market, where I can pay back my investment in as little time as possible. That's the key. So if I'm looking for wholesale, I'm looking for distressed inventory, and I'm looking for buyer activity. If I'm looking for a cash flowing scenario, I'm looking for distressed inventory. I'm looking for a price stable market, and I'm looking for a price to rent ratio that is advantageous, that's going to pay back my investment on an all cash basis as quickly as possible. If I'm looking for fix and flip, I'm looking for, again, distressed observable inventory, but I'm looking for net profit spreads on the deals that local investors are doing. Again, my whole thesis is don't recreate the wheel. Don't do something that someone else isn't already successfully doing. Figure out how they're doing it, where they're doing it, and how you can do it better, or at least step in and play the game. And so this is, from a market selection standpoint, what I think about a lot. A number of years ago, I created the True Rank market ranking system, and this was for wholesalers that wanted to rank markets to invest virtually, to be deal finders and generate deals for other local investors. And it really focused on population, inventory, market activity. And you wanted to see a nice ratio. And so depending on what your strategy is, depending on what your outcome, the result that you want, is it cash from wholesaling? Is it cash flow from buy and hold? Is it cash from fix and flip? What are you trying to accomplish? You're going to look at different measurements or different parameters in a market to decide, is that where I want to go? Across all three of those deal strategy types, there was one consistent piece. And that consistent piece was, You want observable distressed inventory and buyer activity. I call it the honey hole. You want to see that some investor or a group of investors are already doing your thing. And then you want to balance that by saying, can I go in and get deals? Are there deals in this market that I can see? When you can figure those two things out, you can pick a market that allows you to get in, create consistency, create profitability as fast as possible. That's the goal of being an investor. The goal of being an investor is to define your outcome and then figure out what do you have to do that on a regular basis as quickly as possible and build profitability long term, which kind of takes us full circle. Managing risk is more important to investing than finding deals. Because if you understand the game, deals are easy. So this is the Comeback Show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to know. And you can shoot me an email to robswanson@freedomsoft.com. robswanson@freedomsoft.com. I will see that commentary coming in. And if you've got questions, why don't you ask them right there? Ask me your questions. Give me your comments. Let's get this dialogue going. Let's make this a thing that we can do and have a little bit of fun with and talk about some things and dive deep and together learn some stuff. So without further ado, that's a wrap for this one. See you next time.